For all of y'all Montreal Canadiens fans who are watching this video, you probably know a thing or two about this name. Serge Savard, one of the greatest NHL players of all time. A Hockey Hall of Famer in 1986, and the former Montreal Canadiens Senior Vice President of Hockey Ops. This is a guy who has cemented himself in NHL history with dominant play. In the 60s, 70s, and 80s, he was an 8-time Stanley Cup champion. 9-time Stanley Cup champion. 7 times he won as a player. Twice he won as a manager, all with Montreal. Also winning the Conn Smythe Trophy in 1969. Serge Savard is an absolute legend, and we are on his Wikipedia page to go out there and articulate just how good he was. Rarely is it that we refer to Wikipedia over elite prospects, but still, this is a guy who has been so cemented in Montreal Canadiens history. But the reason we're talking about Serge Savard today is because of what Savard said earlier this week in regards to whom it is the Canadiens have on defense nowadays. Savard was a left-handed defenseman himself, 6'3", 210, and there was an article published on NHL.com talking about how, in Savard's opinion, current Canadiens D-man Lane Hutson is the most talented Canadiens player since Guy Lafleur. Oh my goodness, what a scoop. It's Gabriel Duhamel who gives us the article published on NHL.com's French version of the website. The original is not English. It looks like this. So I translated it via the Google machine. The article will be linked in the description. Let's talk about Montreal Canadiens D-man Lane Hutson and whether or not this claim really is true. Serge Savard spoke out about the Canadiens' young D-man at his annual golf tournament on Tuesday. I'm assuming that's Savard's golf tournament, not Lane Hutson's golf tournament. The future will tell, but I think Hutson is the most talented guy the Canadiens have had since Guy Lafleur. And you know what's interesting? I saw a lot of people respond to this particular comment and say, oh wow, look at us, erasing PK Subban from Montreal Canadiens history, erasing Carey Price from Montreal Canadiens history. And I think there is an element of star power and talent that those guys did provide and that can be argued about. I don't think anybody's necessarily going to say, oh wow, you're erasing Brendan Gallagher or you're erasing Pacioretty or even Suzuki. We can understand why those guys are not really in that same conversation. Oh yeah, the best, most talented guy they've had since Lafleur. Like, you're not going to say Brendan Gallagher is that. But PK Subban was super electric. Maybe the time in which he ended up leaving the Canadiens puts a stain on how everything is perceived today. Carey Price is a goaltender, so it's a lot more difficult to go out there and evaluate talent-wise using the same parameters that Serge Savard is using. But let's dive into it here. Serge Savard left reporters in front of him speechless on Tuesday when he made this statement about Lane Hutson. By covering the years of Guy Lafleur, who played his last game with the Canadiens in 1984, Savard gave considerable historical significance to Hutson's early career. In 24-25, the Michigan native scored 66 points, the most for a rookie D-man since the 80s. This haul earned him the Calder Trophy, awarded annually to the NHL's most outstanding rookie. But he had already caught Savard's attention the previous season, during his 2-game NHL audition after the BU Terriers were eliminated. I immediately said that Lane Hutson was the Canadiens' best player. The former captain and GM of the Canadiens said during his annual golf tournament, I quickly became convinced that he was going to be a big star in the NHL. The things that Lane Hutson can do, not many people can do them. And I like that quote a lot. The things that Lane Hutson can do, it's not like Savard is saying, oh, at his size, he is so talented. Because he's small, he has a disadvantage. He's straight up saying that Lane Hutson, the things that this guy's capable of doing, not many folks are able to do that, period. Just amongst the entire sample of NHL players, And of course, normal human beings. Scroll down over here, even though Hutson is, according to Savard, one of the too many small forward players on the Habs at 5'9", 162, Hutson is able to find his place when the game is rough and manly, Savard says. Naturally, you're always scared when a 6'4" guy comes at you at 100 miles an hour, but he's so agile that he finds a way to dodge that. He's able to play in that. The article even acknowledges that Savard was a completely different kind of defenseman mold than Hutson. At 6'3", 210, when he played some 50 years ago, the Montrealer played defensive quarterback. He only reached the 50-point plateau once in his career, but his impact beyond the statistical record earned him multiple honors, including the retirement of his number 18 jersey by the Montreal Canadiens. Now, the rest of the article goes out here and talks about Montreal and the Canadiens team themselves, how there is improvement based off of what Bob Gainey said, who also happened to be at the same tournament. He said here that there is improvement in the Canadiens. The coach was also competitive and very intelligent. Marty St. Louis is pretty good. It's time for the players to form a team that can not only return to the playoffs, but also perhaps go further. While Savard echoed his former teammate's sentiments, he also described the Canadiens' lack of natural physical strength as a shortcoming, something he said was particularly evident in the first-round series against the Capitals. Alex Ovechkin and his teammates had the advantage in 5 games. We were a little intimidated by Washington, who were much bigger than us, he analyzed. I love how he still says us, as if he's a part of the team still. Nah, if it's Serge Savard, we can say that he's still there. There are a lot of small players who have succeeded in Montreal, but right now, I still think that the 80 to 100 point players in the team are not very big. This is a shortcoming that they'll have to take into consideration in the years to come. So despite the fact that some of these guys are not necessarily the biggest, Savard is already giving the pass to Lane Hutson, saying, hey, even though he's a little small too, 5'9", 162, this player has gone out there and established himself as the most talented Canadiens guy since Guy Lafleur. And I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, whether or not you agree with that assessment. I just gotta say here, for me personally, I obviously do not have the longevity nor the hockey knowledge or experience that Serge Savard has. I mean, you think about what this guy was able to do in the 70s and the 80s. I mean, he was playing with some of the most talented Canadiens of all time. Guy Lafleur, Cornier, Mahovlich. You've got so many legends on these old teams. Henri Richard's over here too. So to hear that Lane Hutson in 2025 is on pace to becoming the most talented player the Canadiens have had since Guy Lafleur, or he already is the most talented player the Canadiens have had since Lafleur, I mean, that is absolute lunacy here. And if Hutson even has a sliver of the success that Guy ended up having with the Montreal Canadiens over the years, then I think we could be in store of seeing one of the best defensemen of all time. Seriously? Guy Lafleur, I mean, just to remind y'all here, 5-time Stanley Cup champion, 2-time Hart winner, 3-time Art Ross winner, 1-time Maurice Richard winner. Okay, Lane Hutson's not going to win half of those. I don't think he's going to win the Art Ross anytime soon, but what a name to compare Lane Hutson to. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about Serge Savard's extreme praise for Lane Hutson, and whether or not this is actually a valid take? How do you feel about how things will project into the future? Do you think this is going to remain true as the years go on? I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.